I'm here with Fresco. And this is, we're outside because it's COVID-19 time, but this is Fresco's roadmap to success. I keep on wanting to call him Fresno. Fresco was adopted through our buddies at Little White Dog Rescue, which we love. Now, one thing I noticed for him is he has a tendency, when he doesn't want to be petted, he turns his head away. Now, I was wearing gloves earlier. He didn't seem to like the gloves. If a dog ever turns its head away or backs up or lowers its head when you reach to pet it, that's a dog way of saying, I don't want you to pet me. The more that we reach and then when the dog gives us that signal, we pull away, the more confidence the dog's going to have in us. A lot of times we think, well, what I'm going to do is a positive thing anyways. I'm going to pet you, and so it's okay to do. But just like it's not okay for me to go and rub a woman's shoulders if it looks like she's in distress because I think I'm good at massaging, I have to ask her first. And so same sort of principle for dogs. We want the dog to want to do whatever the activity is. All right, so being a COVID-19 session, we did the session, most of it outside except for the video above, on how to do the conditioned emotional response. I'd like to, for the conditioned emotional response video, I'd like to have each member of the family practice that with Fresco once a day, but spread out, so it's not like 3 in a row. And after the harness goes on, have him wear it until he gets comfortable and lays down and sits. Sitting and laying down are kind of indications the dog is comfortable. So have him wear that unless something prohibitively bad comes on. Have him wear that until he just sits and lays down, and then you can take it off. Come up with your funny word uniform or dress up or whatever it is. So when you do that drawstring at the end, then give him a treat, and then you would say whatever that command word is. And then give him some belly rubs, pet him a little bit, make it a fun time. So at the end of the conclusion of having the harness put on, then something good happens. I get some good fun one-on-one time with my human or whatever it is, and that makes the dog more inclined to want to do it again. All right, and it shouldn't take very long before that the fear of the harness is out, and you just pull out the harness and he runs over and sticks his head and nose through it and is happy to do it. Okay, so we started off talking about exercise. He is a terrier mix. They say he's Chihuahua. But I can see he's got terrier in him for sure. So terriers are a very determined breed. He's not a Vizsla or a great or a dog that needs a ton of energy, but he definitely needs some exercise. So we talked about some creative ways of exercising. Right now the Guardians take him on a couple of walks a day, which is awesome, and they let him sniff on walks, which is something most people don't do enough of. Dogs burn more energy by sniffing than they do actually from the motion of walking. So that's awesome. You might want to Google scent games, SCENT, and that's just hiding 5 or 6 treats around the house. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. I'll let you kind of find those descriptions. The other thing you do is the doggy stairmaster. Show him that you have a treat. When he's looking at you, throw the treat to the bottom of the stairs. Now we have a split level house, so I recruit one of the kids to have them at the very bottom of the stairs with a bunch of treats. So I show him that I have one treat. When Fresco is looking at me, I throw it, and if the steps are going like here's the landing, and the other steps go to this way, I would throw it kind of in this direction, so it's at the top of the next set of stairs. When he goes and licks that one up, just wait, and then the kid who's down at the bottom of this set of stairs is going to say Fresco, and he comes down there, and we'll give him the treat, and then say like Jamaica or Australia, some word that means to go down south. Down the stairs, excuse me. I usually use a southern city or location. And then whoever's at the top of the stairs calls on the top of the stairs, and when he comes up the top, we give him the treat, and this time we call it like Canada or Denver. So we've come up with a command word that means go down the stairs, another one means go up the stairs. And the first time I do it, I throw it up and down the stairs until the dog's like, you're crazy, I'm not going to go down there anymore. It's not worth it. So we want to find out that maximum number of up downs on the stairs. Each down up is 1. Now remember to do this with an empty stomach. Dog's stomach is distended, and so if it is full of food and he's running around, it can flip over. It can be fatal. So a dog shouldn't exercise. Fresco, come here, buddy. You can come in my lap. Come here, buddy. Come on up. Come on up. Yes. Such a good little puppy. I'm going to go ahead and hold you up on my lap while we do the rest of this video. How about that? All right, here you go. All right, so coming up with some creative forms of exercise. You can also feed him out of a snuffle mat, and you could also get him an Omega Paw treat ball. And the Omega Paw treat ball might be something I use like when guests are over, if the kids have some friends over and he's being a nuisance. Fill it up with some of his kibble. He's got to nudge that sucker around like I showed in that video. So coming up with these creative ways of exercise. Dog exercise is best done throughout the day, multiple times a day in shorter bursts. So if we can get him to do this doggy stairmaster, go for a walk, feed him out of snuffle mat, and then give him a Omega Paw treat ball and maybe scent games, that's probably a sufficient amount of exercise. If as long as it's sprinkled throughout the day. All right, we also talked about the importance of rules. For dogs, a lack of rules confuses them into thinking that we are peers. And if we're peers and we're at the same level, then listening to each other is optional. So in order for a dog to see and respect us as an authority figure, we have to burn the energy. Burning energy is like a form of currency to dogs. Also for dogs, the leaders are typically the ones who enforce the rules in their particular realm or area of authority. So some of the rules that I suggested, first rule is not being allowed in the furniture, because for dogs, the higher they sit, the more rank or social status they have. He likes to sit not just next to the humans, he likes to sit up here on the back of the couch. And so that's probably a little bit related to his barking. He likes to bark, especially at UPS or FedEx trucks. Now, he's not a nuisance barker, so it's okay if the guardians want to forego this rule. I would recommend that you enforce it for at least 90 days just to kind of help establish a healthy leader-follower dynamic. Now, I'm not saying that you can't cuddle with him. You can go to the floor like I am here and cuddle with him and play with him as much as you want. Some people will actually I just realized I can lean against this. Some people will actually go set up a pillow for it. Get a bunch of pillows, put them up against the edge of the couch, and then you can lay down on the floor and watch a movie with him and cuddle with him as much as you want. He just can't come up to your level. You can go to his. And remember, these rules should be placed for a minimum of 90 days or as long as the problems are still going on. At the end of that period of time, if you want to relax the rules, that's fine, but it should be because you want to relax the rules or because you want to do something, not because you're rewarding him for. If we let dogs break rules to reward for things, it gives them a taste, makes them want to do that over and over and over again. And so if you want to reward him, you can give him scratching his chest on circles like this. You can rub his belly. You can take him for a walk. You can play tug of war. There's a million things we can do to reward him. Rewarding him by breaking a rule is going to be confusing and frustrating. So that's the first rule I suggest, no furniture. I would recommend getting the dog bed. And you're going to use the same technique for the dog bed as you would for the little A girls. We don't use names here, but for her bed. So what I would do is I'm going to show the dog I have a treat. I'm going to throw the treat onto the dog bed or onto the human bed. And then we're going to come up with a different word for each one. So let's say for her bed, we're calling it castle or kingdom. So we throw it up in there, and when the dog jumps up in the bed and licks it up, we say kingdom. Then the dog jumps down, we throw another treat up there. Do that for about 10 treats in a row, or onto the dog bed, and that would give it a different name. So the first way I do is I just throw the treat and let the dog see me throw it. And this is usually just done for the dog bed. That's what I would do for the dog bed. Or you could call him up on the dog bed. When he jumps up on the bed and sits down, then put the treat in his mouth and say castle, or whatever the word is. Or you can leave a treat there. Now, this is what I usually, when I leave it on the floor, I do this for dogs for the dog bed. Well, right there, you can see that treat. I don't know if you can see it. I'm looking at my phone. But that contrast is going to be easy to see. So that's why I like my dog beds to be light cream, light gray, or white, because you can see that treat pretty easily with a contrast between brown and gray. So the idea is for the dog bed, you leave one there and the dog goes over and finds it and he licks it up and you say the word Jamaica or whatever the word is for the dog bed. Third way is I put them in a sitter, L-A-Y, and then put the treat in their mouth and then say the command word. And so this kind of reinforces and links the command word with the location. And so, and then the next stage is when the dog goes to the dog bed on its own, then we throw treats, one at a time. So every time I come to the dog bed now, it rains treats. And then every time I lick it up, I hear the Jamaica or whatever the command word is. So these are ways for the dog bed, but you're going to use some of the same principles for the actual human bed. Just throw a treat up there, wherever you call up there. Just give her your daughter 10 treats and have her sit on the bed, and she calls up. And you might want to, first time she's just sitting on the bed, dog comes up and she gives the treat and says whatever the name is to get on her bed. After a while, then it might be you want to get down. Okay. Then the next stage might be where your daughter is under the covers, but it's not bedtime, and she just goes up there and she gets a treat, and then you might want to have her prolong and start delaying the duration of time between delivering the treats to help the dog practice staying up there. But if we do it right, then we get to the point where Fresco wants to hang out there, and that's a good positive thing, and he likes sleeping in beds. I think he did that with his previous guardians. So it's beneficial, and now we've created a command word. But when he gets in the dog bed or the human's bed, it should be with an invitation from the daughter, not because I want to and I jump up whenever I want. That'll help a little bit more respect for the daughter. The dog bed in the living room or wherever it is, dog can go there anytime it wants, doesn't need permission. That's the dog's bed. Okay, so anytime we take away the furniture, I usually recommend X mats. You can get those on Amazon, X, M-A-T-S. Leave those on the cushions. That'll help keep the dog off when you're gone. And then also to practice using a dog bed at the same time. Other rules, you have to sit at the door before I let you out. I go to the door and I say sit one time. If the dog sits within 3 seconds, then it gets I open the door as soon as the dog's butt hits the ground. If it doesn't sit within 3 seconds, then I walk away and I would sit down at your table right there, wait for 1 minute. Fresco, come here. Fresco, I have a bully stick here for you. And so as soon as it sits, that's what causes the door to open. But if it doesn't sit, then you sit down nearby and you wait 1 minute. After 1 minute, you get up and tell the dog to come and then to sit again. If it doesn't sit within 3 seconds this time, I'll walk away for 2 minutes. Next time I'll walk away for 4 minutes and for 8 minutes. I keep double the length of time until eventually when I go to the door and I say sit, looks like I have some fat rolls there. But when I tell the dog to sit, as it knows the only way that door is open is if I sit. And as soon as I sit, the door flies open. Eventually you do it with other doors to the house, bedrooms. Right now he's kenneled, but the guardians really don't need to kennel him. He doesn't chew things up, doesn't soil, doesn't have accidents. So I would practice having him actually be out now just to see if he's good there. I only use a kennel if I need to. But get it exiting the kennel while you're still using it. You have to sit before I open the kennel door and let him out. Eventually they'll start sitting. Sitting is a more subordinate position for dogs. So it's a good habit for them to get into. Fresco, come here, buddy. I'll give it to you this time, I promise. Sit. You don't want it now, huh? You want the treats instead. All right, so other rules: shouldn't be allowed to be in the kitchen when we're preparing food. Shouldn't be allowed to be around the dining table when we're eating food. Now, if you go to my website and search for invisible or kitchen, there are videos where I explain how to do the technique that I showed you, how to keep him out of the kitchen and help him practice. But don't be afraid to fire up that bacon or the roast beef and practice enforcing the boundary before you're cooking your meal, before you're eating your meal. Setting those things up really helps. The scenarios where you can help the dog learn. Also make sure that whoever's is feeding him eats something first. So all I have to do is eat 5 more bites, and I would go through the same exercise that we did in your kitchen. So she's sitting there next to the food. She mirrors. He goes for the food, and her hand lowers to go on top of the bowl. He backs away, then her hand can come away back to her hip. And so it's going to be back and forth like this until eventually she's able to do that and eat her marshmallows or whatever it is that she gets to eat first. And the dog can sit there and wait, and then she gets permission to eat. Come up with a funny word. Maybe each one of the kids come up with a fun word. Favorite meal, favorite restaurant, something that's preferably going to make people laugh. You could say rice, but rice is probably not going to make people laugh that much because it's a pretty common thing. People might just think it's when you say like filet mignon and the dog goes and eats, or lasagna or chimichanga or something that's unusual that you don't eat very often that the dog probably shouldn't have. That's going to make people laugh and smile. Remember, that's the benefit of using these fun command words. Dogs can read facial expressions. So we're going to use fun command words because that's going to motivate the dog and to do it because it makes people happy just the same way your kids. So we're going to do a show for you. It's usually not the best show, but you'll love the show because you love the kids. It's the same sort of thing for the dog. Okay, so we also went over, but look for other rules that you can incorporate. You have to do this before you get that. That equation, if you have to do something for us and then you get something you want, that's called a Premack. There was a scientist that worked with chimps, and his name was Premack. And so what the concept is you can get the dog to do a behavior that is less desirable if it knows that it's going to get a behavior that's very desirable afterwards. So it's kind of a form of operant conditioning, but it's through behaviors. It's not to get a treat, but maybe if I sit quietly, you put the harness on, and then we go for a walk. So sitting quietly earns me the walk. It's kind of a version of a Premack. All right, we also went over petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose, he right now just jumps up and paws at people, or he nudges them, or he just jumps up or scratches them, or he just jumps up on their lap. So he's telling people what to do, and then they do it. And that validates to him that, yes, I'm in charge, because when I boss people around, they listen to me. So what we'd like to do instead is next time that he nudges you or paws or gives the indication he wants to get on your lap, tell him to sit. If he's already sitting here, tell him to sit over here. He has to do something to change his state, either sit or lie down. And so if he does sit, then I would invite him up my lap if I feel inclined to do that, or pet him, or whatever the case may be. Remember, probably not being on the lap if he's not on the furniture for a while. Let's say he just wants attention. So he nudges me, I tell him to sit. If he sits within 3 seconds, I put him under his chin and I say the word sit, and only the word sit. Remember, they hear the first word that you say. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, don't ask him multiple times. Show him you have other things to do. Playing hard to get works great for dog training just as well as it does for dating. So tell him to sit, and if he doesn't sit, then you show him, I have 9 other things I could be doing, buddy. You missed the boat. After a while, he'll start being more motivated to listen to you because he wants that attention. And you're not asking very much for him, asking for a sit. And after a while, he'll recognize I can no longer tell the people what to do. I have to ask, and better than ask, I have to pay for the privilege of their attention, and I pay through it through a currency of obedience. And what will happen is he'll come start sitting in front of you to prepay for the attention. When he does, make sure you reach over and start petting him. Otherwise, he's going to start going back to the old things. Now, remember to use a watchword paycheck. If you suspect someone's petting without a purpose, you tell that person sit, or tell that person paycheck. Even if the person did it right, they would stop petting the dog. The person would say paycheck because they see that I'm petting him and he's standing up. They suspect that I forgot to ask him to do something. So it's a gentle reminder. They say paycheck, I would stop petting him. Tell him to sit. If he sits, I pet him on his chin, say sit, and then I tell the person, actually I asked him to sit, and when you opened the door, he stood up and I continued petting him. But thanks for reminding me. We also want to do passive training, which is celebrating the things the dog does that we like. So every time he comes to you, pet him under his chin and say the word come. Every time he lays down, pet him and say crash or chill or slide or whatever your word is. Every time he takes his first bite of food, all the rest of the stuff. And name all his individual toys. So anytime that he has that you're asking him that you're going to pet him, or that he does something that you like, you're going to pet him within 3 seconds of him doing it, and then label it by saying sit or crash or down or whatever it is, so he knows why you're doing it. So eventually he'll start offering those behaviors to get your attention instead of barking at you or jumping up or nudging you or the rest of that stuff. Now, we also went over the escalating consequences. I'm not going to go over those here. If you forget what those are, message me. But if you watch the video for invisible or for kitchen, it'll show you how to enforce that invisible boundary, and I talk about them in there. Now, he could be growling, just saying, leave me alone. He could have a bit of a resource guarding problem. Resource guarding is where a dog is protecting an object that is in their possession. It's not classified as aggression because once you remove the object, the dog's demeanor changes. But a lot of dogs with resource guarding will bite anybody who tries to take it. And it's very natural for dogs to guard the resources. That's what they would do in the wild. If they have some food, they guard that as a resource. Well, that's basically what they're doing in the house, but we don't need them to do it. Now, so there's a difference, though. A dog could, if I have a bone and somebody walks by, I might growl at them. It might be my way of saying, just give me some more space. And what we usually do is we kind of grab the item. Well, if you're going to growl, I'm going to take it away. Well, that just validated all the dog's fears. So what we want to do is that, let's say that that he's 10 feet away from me, and I start walking towards him. And when I get to 8 feet, he freezes, and I get to 7 feet, he growls, and I get to 6 feet, he starts barking and snapping in the air. Well, those are all indicators that he's uncomfortable. He's warning me. The first warning is freezing in place and staring usually. So what I want to do is, let's say I start approaching him, and at 10 feet, he freezes. I stop at that point. I turn around, I grab a treat, and I've left. I moved farther than 10 feet away. I walk back, and this time I stop at 11 feet before he freezes, and I roll a treat at him. He comes over, gets the treat, or I roll the treat in such a way that he just gets it, and then I walk away. Now, he's going to be probably stationary because that's the item that he's chewing on. And then I approach from a different angle, stop at 11 feet. Then I approach from this angle at 11 feet. You want to approach at a bunch of different angles and stopping before he even freezes. And once you've done that 3 or 4 times, hey, buddy, then what we could do, come. I'm going to put you up here to prevent you from barking because it's probably not going to be as much fun for them to listen to you barking in the video. All right, so, and then eventually after we've done it 5 or 6 times at 11 feet, then we try to go to 10 feet. And we stop and roll the treat at 10 feet. And then 9, 8, 7. Let's say you get to 7 and he freezes again. Well, then back up to 8. Practice a couple of throws at 8 and not freeze it. The idea, he shouldn't react at all if you're doing this properly. Shouldn't be growling or any of these things. If he is, it means we're not getting we're not stopping soon enough. So the whole point is to stop before he feels like we're a threat to take his stuff, show him that we're not taking his stuff, and then roll something towards him that's even higher value than what he has, and then leave the area. So he's saying, so you're going to approach me, give me better stuff than I have, and then leave? That's a pretty good deal. And after a while, then he'll learn that when you're approaching, I don't have to growl because you're not a threat. You've proven to me that you're not a threat. So, and this might take several practices. At first, you might go from 11, 10, 9 feet, and then you might have to stop at 9 feet. And then next time, you go 9, 8, and then 7, 6, then 5, 4, 3. It's just going to go at the dog's pace. And so you want to get to the point where you can eventually be just right here and just like hand the dog a treat and takes it and goes back to chewing on the item. Now, you might also want to teach him a drop command. And to teach that, you just go to my website, search for Drop or Drop It, and there's a bunch of videos where I show cover how to do this lesson for a puppy class. So I'd recommend doing that. So if the dog doesn't have if it's resource guarding, they're not going to drop it. But if I've got something, you say drop it, and you teach it the way that I teach it, which is positive reinforcement only. Hey buddy, can you hang out just for, I promise it's only going to be another minute. And the dog drops it, and it's not a resource guarding problem because they're voluntarily giving it up to you. All right, so let me see. I think that covers just about everything we covered in the session. Make sure whoever's feeding is eating something first. If you have any questions, make sure you let me know. If I don't hear from you, I assume that means everything's going great. So please text me. Text is the fastest way to reach me. If you have any questions, I don't care if it's 7 years from now, let me know. I might not remember working with you guys, but if you text me a picture of this handsome devil, then yes, then I will. I'll get back to you right away. And if I don't get back to you within a day of a text, then just message me again. All right. Well, I can't want to say Pasquale. It's Woody. I don't know why, because I've been saying it right the whole time. Fresco. This is Fresco, and this is Fresco's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it. Right, buddy? Yawn.